According to the Nishmas, Etta, Ahuva, Bazakum, Maseches Bechoros, Perek Tes, Mishna Aleph. So this Perek speaks about Meiser Behema, which is brought in this Masechta because the dinam of the carbon of a Meiser Behema are similar to that of a Bechor and of Pesach, but Teves says that Pesach has so many halachos that it has its own Masechta. Meiser Behema we stuck in this last Perek. It's written at the end of Sefer Vayikra. The pasuk says at the very, very end, V'chol ma'aser Bokor b'tzoyin kol asher yavar tachas hashavet ha'asiri yeh kodesh laHashem, that any meiser of cattle and of tzoyin, which includes sheep and goats, anything that goes underneath the stick, the 10th one is kodesh to Hashem, and you bring it as a carbon shloimie. And the bailam eat the basar. So the Mishnah says, Meiser behema noig be'aretz u'bechutz la'aretz. This halacha applies even in chutz la'aretz. The Gemara says, even though Rabbi Akiva says that the pasuk compares Meiser behema to Meiser dagan, and we darshan that mimokum shata mala Meiser dagan ata mala Meiser behema mokum shiata mala Meiser dagan ata mala Meiser behema. And since in chutz la'aretz there's no regular Meiser, so there should be no Meiser behema as well. But the Gemara comes out that even like Rabbi Akiva, it's negeya that if this Meiser behema gets a mum, then it's nechal abayim b'mumay. And just you can't be makriv as a carbon. The Mishnah continues b'fnei abayis v'shaloi b'fnei abayis. This halacha would apply even bizman hazeh. The Gemara over here asks the question, ihachi afilu idna nami. How come we don't find that we bring Meiser behema? The Gemara comes out amarabba mishum takala. Rashi explains that we have no place to bring the carbon now, and therefore you're going to have to hold on to it until it gets a mum, and we're afraid that it's going to come lidei takala on the using the shearings, the giza of avodah. You can do avodah with it, or you're going to shecht it without a mum. Teves points out that it doesn't look like this stopped immediately after Bayis. He brings the Gemara, famous Gemara with the Rolazim and Azariah that gave Meiser behema. So he says that possibly it didn't stop right away after the Churban Beis HaMikdash. B'chul and Avaloim Mikdashin, the Mishnah says that it doesn't apply by Hekdesh. The Gemara points out even by Kachei Kalam, which is Malam and Bailam. V'noi b'bakar u'b'tzoyin, it's negeya both with bakar and tzoyin, as the pasuk said mefurish. Ve'im ma'asim izel zeh, but you can't give meiser from bakar and onto tzoyin, and from tzoyin onto bakar. So you would need 10 bakar, put them in a dare, or 10 tzoyin and put them in a dare. B'kvasim be'izin, it's neig by both types of tzoyin, kvasim and izin, sheep and goats. Ma'asim izel zeh, and over here you could give meiser one to another. The Mishnah is going to theorize the limud. B'chadash u'b'yashan, ve'im ma'asim izel zeh. So over here, the Mishnah tells us what the first Mishnah Rosh Hashanah says is that there's a Rosh Hashanah for Meiser behema, which is Rosh Chodesh Elul, and therefore the animals from before Rosh Chodesh Elul, you can't give Meiser on those after Rosh Chodesh Elul and Fakert. The Gemara learns this out from the pasuk that says Aser ta'aser. Again, we're comparing it's a hekesh Meiser behema to Meiser dagan. Just like by Meiser dagan mechadash al yashin, you can't give from this year's crop onto last year's crop. So too by the behemoth, you can't give from those that were born after Rosh Chodesh Elul to those that were born before Rosh Chodesh Elul. The Mishnah fears the limud by kvasim and izim sheibedin mam chadash v'yashin shein kaim zeh b'zeh masim zel zeh kvasim v'izim shein kaim zel zeh inadin shalei sasim zel zeh. I would say that if you can't give from chadash and yashin from after Elul to before Elul, so surely you can't give from kvasim to izim. By kvasim and izim, you can't even put the two together. There will be a problem of klayim. Tamaloymar b'tzoyin mashma v'chol tzoyin echad. All tzoyin, both kvasim and izim, will go into the same there. Mishnah Beis. Ma'aser behema mitzaref kimolei regel behema roya. So how close do the animals have to be to say that they're considered one group and you put them into one dare, one pen to give Ma'aser behema? Within molei regel behema roya, kamu regel behema roya, how much is that? Shisha aser mil, 16 mil. The Gemara learns it out from a pasuk in Yirmiyah that it's considered tzoyin kol zman, it could be counted through one shepherd. And the Gemara said, Kimelu Rabbanan, the Rabbanan made an evaluation that within 16 mil, the eye of a shepherd could see the sheep and it could be underneath his control, and therefore up until 60 mil is considered one flock that you put it into one deer. The Mishnah says, "Hayabein elu elu shnayim shleishim v'shnayim mil einam mitzdarfin hayli beemsa maybe maasim beemsa." Or it comes out, you read this sentence together that if it's 32 mil, then if you have one in between, that could be mitzdarf the two flocks. In the Gemara, there's a machlokes Rav and Shmuel. Rav says that if you have 5 on one side and 5 32 away, you would need 5 in the middle. So this way it could be chazi each way. In other words, if you take the 5 in the middle to the right or to the left, either way you would have 10. But 1 alone would not be enough in the middle, because if you put 1 to each side, it's not going to help. And it doesn't help that 1 to make that the ones that are 32 mil away from each other are mitzaref. However, Shmuel says no, even if 1 be'emsa, that's enough to be mitzaref the 2 ends. Rameir says hayardei mafsek l'maiser behema, that if you have on one side of the yarden and the other side of the yarden, no matter how close they are, that's considered a hafsaka. The Gemara comes out that it's from a pasuk that says that the yarden, it makes it that it's its own gvul. A pasuk in Yeshua.